You ever notice how stupid people make stupid decisions that end up delivering stupid outcomes? In some cases, we might be that person. In other cases, we know those types of people. I think it's safe to say the Carolina Panthers are a stupid organization that make stupid decisions that lead to stupid outcomes. Now, I was not a fan of them moving up big to go to number one to draft Bryce Young. I certainly was a fan of the package of what they were offering to the Bears. So from a Bears standpoint, it's like, brilliant! Do it all day. But if you remember before that 2023 draft, I did a video about the Panthers and that top pick and said they only have two choices, and Bryce Young is neither one of those. You either go with the most polished, pro-ready pocket passer in C.J. Stroud, or you swing for the fences on the athletic freak upside like you once had with Cam Newton when you took him number one overall in 2011 in Anthony Richardson. Now, of course, the Panthers did the stupid thing, and they took Bryce Young. And the reason that is stupid is it was such a deviation from the norm in terms of the prototype. And when you're giving up that much, like even if you think about Bryce Young's upside and whatever you might have projected it to be going into that 2023 draft, how high was that upside really? What was the elite trait or characteristic that he had? You know, like a few years before Joe Burrow coming into the draft, his arm strength, he kind of had a noodle arm, frankly, but he did a lot of things at an incredibly high level that you could project being elite traits in the NFL. You know, accuracy, instincts, pocket presence and feel, movement within the pocket. Like lots of things there, right? His ability to decipher defenses. And Bryce Young had some areas that he was good, but there was nothing that he was super elite at. Whereas you could look at C.J. Stroud and see the potential for an elite pocket passer. You could look at Anthony Richardson and see the potential for an elite weapon and passer at the next level. Like, don't deviate from the prototype too much, because what you're doing is you're risking everything on a massive statistical outlier. And it's not the type of statistical outlier like when you took a Cam Newton number one overall. Obviously, different organization at the time, different ownership, different coaching, front office, etc. But they were gambling on the 6'5", 6'6", 260-pound freak that could really move as a runner and had a freaking fire hose of an arm. Those are the outliers you gamble on. You don't gamble on the 5'10" ones with kind of average arm strength, accuracy that's okay but certainly not special, movement skills that are okay but not special, athleticism, mobility, scrambling ability that again was okay but certainly wasn't special. You just don't do that. So it's kind of like the Carolina Panthers put themselves into a no-win situation by giving up way too fucking much to move up to one, considering the quarterback that they ended up taking. You could talk about whether that was a David Tepper decision or not. Bottom line is it fucking happened and it was really dumb. They put themselves into a no-win situation, and over the past year plus, they have then as a consequence put Bryce Young into that position of no win, no matter what. Last year, the talent around him was terrible. And oh, by the way, as part of that trade, you got rid of DJ Moore. So the one really legit weapon he could have had in the passing game, he didn't fucking have. You put him behind a sieve of an offensive line. His top passing game option was going to be Adam Thielen. How the fuck did you think that was going to go? Seriously. And oh, by the way, Frank Reich didn't even make it a season as the head coach. So now the hope is with an offseason, spend some money in free agency, invest in the draft on the offense and the offensive line, build around Bryce Young. You bring in Dave Canellis, who did some good work in Tampa in 2023 with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield saw like a career stabilization and frankly, a revitalization there. And maybe you could do the same thing with Bryce Young. And yet and still, this organization can't help but do stupid things to put Bryce Young and themselves into a no-win situation. And now we're at a place after two games, they're pulling the plug and benching Bryce Young for Andy effing Dalton. And this is stupid on so many different levels. First of all, you are surprised that Bryce Young didn't play that well early on in the regular season, considering you gave him all of, one series of reps in the preseason? Like, that's the type of quarterback, especially with how crappy he played as a rookie last year. He needed more live game action. You barely give him the opportunity to practice in real game situations, and then you wonder when he hits the real game situations, he doesn't do well. It's like sitting there and saying, hey, you haven't played a golf tournament in 9 months. We'll let you get in one round of practice, and then we expect you to be able to go out and shoot a really low score in a tournament. You just don't do that. That's fucking dumb. And on the surface of it, anybody with a halfway functioning brain understands this. But apparently not the Carolina fucking Panthers. So you put him into a terrible spot. And I'm not just trying to make excuses for him, because there's certainly a part of it is that you're the top overall pick, you Keebler elf. You need to fucking play better, and he certainly does. But it feels like you just continue to put him in no-win situations instead of trying to get him more action to try and get him ready, especially when you talk about you hired a new coach, which means you're bringing in a new fucking offense. You gave him less opportunities in the preseason. Who the hell does that? Like, what are you doing? Unbelievable. So you've already put him into a no-win situation here with a new coach and offensive system, which in theory should have been a good thing, but you barely let him practice it in real game situations and then drop him into the fucking cesspool and fire that is your regular season. Gee, I wonder why this wouldn't work. And then you make the decision after 2 games to bench him. Like, mentally, how do you expect him to react to this? How do you expect him to respond to this? Well, he's still our guy, but we want him to take a break. He's not your fucking guy. And anybody that believes that dumb shit is a dumb shit. No, he's not your fucking guy. That's why you're benching him. Because if he was your freaking guy, you would be starting him and continuing to start him and continuing to figure it out as to whether or not he can be the guy or not. Like, that's idiotic. How are you expecting this young quarterback to sit there and take that benching, knowing that you've already done it once, and even in a few weeks, if you did manage to put him back into the fold, he's always going to be looking over his shoulder thinking that his hook is going to be really quick because it lasted all of 2 games into this season with this coaching staff. What a bunch of fucking morons. And then to top it all off, on the Andy Dalton track, Andy Dalton's 37 now? And if your thought process is, well, Andy Dalton is going to help us be more competitive and win more games, okay, then ding dong dumb dicks, guess what you're doing? You're fucking up your draft position in the long term. And if you thought you were only going to win 2 or 3 games with Bryce Young this year, by the way it was looking, but you win 6 or 7 with Andy Dalton, you're not accomplishing anything. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road, and by the way, making it a lot harder in the next draft to go find yourself that replacement for Bryce Young at the quarterback position. And what happens if Andy Dalton comes out and you're still losing games and you're not playing well? Then you're just taking away precious, valuable regular season reps for Bryce Young. What frustrates me with these NFL teams, these owners, front offices, coaches, is they often don't understand their situation and they don't understand the game they're in. If you're the Carolina Panthers in 2024, you've just hired Dave Canellis and he should be there a long time. What that should buy you is some leash, some rope, some patience, and that you're going to really commit to the Bryce Young thing to find out once and for all. And if that means that you do great and see a big improvement in 2024, fantastic! Because that probably means Bryce Young is your guy long term and the whole trajectory of the organization changes like that. And if he's not your guy, at least you've invested 2024 to find out that he's not, and you can already start thinking about your contingencies and your alternative plans in 2025 and going forward. This accomplishes none of that shit. It's stupid. Benching a guy after 2 games and, oh, I'm sure he's going to handle that right. Yeah. Like, what is Bryce Young going to learn sitting behind fucking Ginger Dalton for 2 or 3 weeks? What's he going to learn? Oh, he needs to slow down. If you've already got to be worried about whether you need to slow it down for him, and that he can't handle it now, then that just shows he's not your guy. He never was the guy, and it makes your organization look like even bigger knobs for drafting a statistical outlier on the negative side with the number 1 overall pick after you traded up all that you fucking did to go get him. The game that you were in was Bryce Young development this year, period. And then when you're hiring a coach like Dave Canellis, it should be for the thought of he's going to build some type of like 4 or 5 year program, and you see how it works out. And part of that is the Bryce Young evaluation experience. Like, these are the types of dumb dick, short-sighted moves that you just can't let happen as an organization. You need everybody in lockstep. And if everybody is in lockstep that this was the right move, then that makes it even more ridiculous and idiotic. But if this is an example of the coach wants to do this because he feels the pressure to have to win now, then maybe you hired the wrong fucking coach. Bryce Young hasn't been good so far in his NFL career. You can point to any number of things last year about the situation he was in. Yeah, it sucked, and he sucked. And you come into this year, in theory, the situation should have been better. And so far, he has sucked. Like, there does need to be a little pressure there to say, like, you've got to start playing better. Like, you're supposed to be better than this. But the reality is, like, it's over now. Like, how are you expecting Bryce Young to come back from this? And maybe the answer is that he doesn't, right? And nor should you expect him to, and nor do you necessarily if you're the Panthers. Maybe you're already like, hey, we're already thinking about moving on here in 2025. So then if you think Andy Dalton gives you a better chance to win, then you make it harder on yourself to move on from Bryce Young. Explain to me how this makes any fucking sense in any universe whatsoever. The Carolina Panthers ultimately benched Bryce Young because they are stupid. Stupid organizations make stupid outcomes that have, or stupid decisions that have stupid outcomes. And as a Bears fan for close to 40 years, I know this life. Stupid organizations make stupid decisions with stupid outcomes. And from the outside looking in, this has all the hallmarks of that. This Panthers organization is a joke and a disaster. And I'm actually at a place now where I have not empathy, but flat out sympathy for Bryce Young. I feel sorry for him. He was put into a spot he never should have been put in to begin with because the owner/front office of the Panthers didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They drafted the wrong quarterback and put even more pressure on drafting the wrong quarterback by giving up way too fucking much for the right to draft said wrong quarterback, and then put him into a shitty spot and put him with a coach here in 2024 that should have been all about his development, that did everything he could apparently to sabotage his fucking development. So I feel sorry for Bryce Young in that respect. They're fucking up any shot he has of making it in his career. Unbelievable. Stupid organizations make stupid decisions that lead to stupid outcomes. But you know what, Carolina fans? Just keep pounding!